Imagine a world where you're constantly ingesting plastic without even knowing it. Sounds like a dystopian novel, doesn't it? But this is no fiction, it's a startling reality. We are living in an era where microscopic fragments of plastic, known as microplastics, have become part of our everyday lives. These tiny intruders, less than 5 millimeters in length, have made their way into our drinking water, the air we breathe, and even the food on our plates. Despite their minuscule size, microplastics are a massive problem. They're so pervasive that they've infiltrated some of our most intimate environments. That comfortable living room couch you're sitting on? Yes, it could be releasing microplastics right now. That crisp, fresh salad you had for lunch, it might have had a sprinkle of plastic particles too. So, let's meet our everyday man, Tom, and see how he interacts with microplastics in his daily routine. Tom starts his day like any of us, with a hot shower and a cup of coffee. He steps out, wrapping himself in a plush synthetic fiber towel. Unbeknownst to him, each rub releases thousands of microplastic particles into the air, unseen but ever present. Next, he heads to the kitchen for his morning brew. The coffee maker, a modern marvel of convenience, is also a hidden source of microplastics. You see, when heated, certain types of plastic can leach microscopic fragments into the liquid being heated. So, Tom's morning cup of joe could potentially be laced with tiny particles of plastic. Let's not forget the bottled water he uses to make his coffee. The plastic bottle itself may also contribute to the microplastics tally, so even before the sun is fully up, Tom, without knowing, has already encountered microplastics twice before his day really begins. Tom sets out for work, stepping into a world teeming with microplastics. As he strides down the city sidewalks, the unseen particles swirl around him. They're suspended in the air, a silent symphony of tiny invaders. These microplastics aren't born small. They're the offspring of their larger-kin plastic bags, bottles and wrappers broken down by the elements. In our urban jungles, car tires play a significant part too. Every twist and turn, every stop and go grinds the tires against the pavement. The resulting dust, you guessed it, chock full of microplastics. And then, there's the city dust itself, a cocktail of natural and synthetic particles, the latter being our culprits in disguise. As Tom journeys to work, he inhales, drawing these particles into his lungs. Unseen, unknown, they become a part of his daily commute. Even the air we breathe isn't safe from this microscopic menace. Midday hits, and Tom enjoys a quick lunch from his favorite food truck. Nothing quite hits the spot like a tasty shrimp burrito, right? But what if I told you that this seemingly innocent meal might be hosting some uninvited guests? Yes, you guessed it, microplastics. Seafood, particularly shellfish, are known to ingest microplastics from their marine habitats. And when we consume these creatures, we're also consuming those tiny plastic particles. It's not just the food, even the plastic utensils and containers we use could be adding to our daily microplastic intake. The heat from the food can cause the plastic to leach chemicals, which then find their way into our lunch. And though these amounts might seem minuscule, remember, it's the daily, consistent exposure that adds up over time. So as Tom crunches down on his crispy shrimp, he's unknowingly crunching on microplastics too. Who knew that a simple lunch could serve up a side of microplastics? After a long day, Tom unwinds with a cold drink from his plastic water bottle. It's a familiar scene, isn't it? A moment of relaxation, a sip of refreshment, a simple act we've all indulged in after a long day. But there's more to this picture than meets the eye. What if I told you that every time Tom takes a sip from his plastic bottle, he's also consuming invisible particles known as microplastics? Yes, those tiny fragments of plastic less than 5 millimeters in length are lurking in Tom's bottled water. It sounds like a plot from a science fiction novel, but it's a reality we are all living. Microplastics are everywhere, from the deepest oceans to the highest mountains. And yes, even in the bottled water we drink. They sneak into our bodies in ways we least expect. When we consume bottled water, we're not just quenching our thirst. We're also ingesting these microscopic invaders. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the big deal? They're tiny, right? Well, that's the thing. Their minuscule size allows them to pass through our body's natural defenses and end up in places they shouldn't be. And while the full extent of their impact on human health is still under study, early research suggests they could pose risks to our digestive and respiratory systems, and even our brains. But don't panic just yet. Remember, knowledge is power. By becoming aware of the presence of microplastics in our daily lives, we're taking the first step towards finding solutions. And while Tom might not know it yet, his nightly ritual of sipping from a plastic bottle is shedding light on a global issue we all need to tackle. As Tom ends his day, we see just how pervasive microplastics are in our daily lives. It's a sobering thought to sleep on, isn't it? But remember, every new day brings new opportunities to make better choices for ourselves and our planet. But what if Tom and all of us could change this narrative? Imagine a world where we've reduced our daily consumption of plastic. It starts with small steps, like swapping out that plastic toothbrush for a bamboo one, trading in those single-use water bottles for a reusable stainless steel variant, opting for fresh produce over packaged goods at the grocery store. Remember, every change, no matter how small, contributes to a larger impact. But it doesn't stop there. Sharing knowledge is equally important. Tell your friends, your family, your coworkers about the invisible threat of microplastics. Share this video, and let's start a conversation. We all have a role to play in this narrative. It's not just about protecting ourselves, but also about safeguarding our planet for future generations. By making small changes in our daily routines, we can all take steps towards a healthier, microplastic-free life. Let's start today because every step matters, and every change counts.